Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Saturday Special Comments. The advent of artificial intelligence, augmented intelligence, virtual reality is creating two divergent schools of thought. We often hear from scientists, from entrepreneurs, from futurists, and some limited media outlets that automation, robotics, artificial intelligence shall lead to a very bright future. Maybe they are thinking of a utopia where everything would be so convenient, so good, and man would be living in a virtual heaven. At the same time, there's a significant number of intellectuals, politicians, journalists, academicians, soothsayers who never take a bright view of things. And they are depicting the scenario, the doomsday scenario for our future because of these robots, artificial intelligence, which according to them shall not complement but replace human beings, making them redundant. And when anything becomes redundant, it loses its value and is thrown in the garbage. Much of the current debate is shaped by these two extreme hypotheses. Either you are in favor of automation and everything that comes with it, or you are against it. That is astonishing because similar discussions have already been in the pre-internet age about similar topics. Whenever something new comes, it's amazing. When railway train were to start, people were considering it to be a devil incarnate. The steam engine was looked upon as a profanity. When the cars came into being, again, it was feared that it shall be the end of the world. Is it so? I have tried to look at the possibility of automation in the future, intensities, and the effort is to stimulate a broader discussion which does not address either of the two extremes. I visualize the future differently. And it's not one. Basically, I envisage 4 different scenarios which are possible. You see, what happens is, when something is indeterminate, nobody should try to be a soothsayer. There are many hiccups. As I said, there's many a slip between the cup and the lip. So I have envisioned 4 different scenarios. First would be balanced automation and technical boundaries. Artificial intelligence is full of risk, promise, and controversy. It started way back in 1980s. Today is 2018 and we are still developing narrow artificial intelligence, but with a much greater accelerated speed. There are visions of an omnitasking in superintelligence, yet deep learning, the current poster child or artificial intelligence, is unlikely to fulfill the utopian vision. If we look back at the history of artificial intelligence, it's plausible that you will witness similar setbacks in research, interest, or at times a temporary plateau in technological advancement. It goes on, jumps up, and then, a level playing field comes up. Then again, there's a gestation period and another jump. And that is caused by diverse factors. There can be bottlenecks in computing power. There can be a problem of quality of training data, or even in the human inability to understand the output. We might be able to develop in certain areas a fully automated cluster of tasks from end to end, like driving or financial modeling. But others might not be from end to end. They might be partly developed, partly dependent on the human capability. It's very important to bear in mind that most jobs are in fact multiple of subsets of topics, and they belong to different domains requiring a multitude of skills. And then when that happens, artificial intelligence is at a disadvantage. A job can require communication, numerical calculations, logical reasoning, data aggression, analytical creativity, social skills, dexterity, processing of auditive, olfactory, and visual stimuli, and much more. So it's quite possible to automate certain subtasks at one macro task using a different system. It might not be, again I'm saying it might not be feasible to combine them together to fully automate the macro task. Micro you can, macro you may not be able to do. Secondly, automation comes at a cost, which could make it financially unattractive to automate certain jobs, even if it's possible from the scientific point of view. There's a difference, What is possible and what is probable. Possibly we can do it. Probably we will not be able to do it because of different constraints. And even if it's possible to automate subtasks of one macro task, different agents, it may not become practical. We must acknowledge that automation is dependent on data, which may not always be available in required quantity or required quality. It may be there and available in plenty, and it may not be reliable, or it may not be there sufficient number. So the human labor would remain superior and cheaper in a majority of professions. As a result, humanity would be able to automate certain tasks, and it may decide not to automate others. So the certain balance would be there. The second scenario is irrational automation behavior and external limits. Let's not forget that every human task has a certain limitation, and the limitations are not of the mankind, but they are external to the person doing the job. And those limitations would remain whether it is artificial intelligence performing the job or human beings performing the job. Just because we have developed something, we don't have to use it. We as a society might be able to automate our lives in future either by machine learning, bioengineering, or some other technology. We can overcome technological boundaries, and we said earlier. But the truth is, there is no force to make us use of the knowledge at a grand scale. We have nuclear weapons all over the world. Today, for example, USA and Russia have about 8,000 bombs each, and the other nations having from 50 to 500 bombs. But are they using it? They are not. So it's possible that the external factor, the fear of extermination, is stopping the use of the one. That's a deterrent, that the whole world will be destroyed. The user would be destroyed as a target. So that is possible. Or some such other scenario is possible. People may not use this automation behavior to that extent. It can be irrational. Let's be very clear. But it's there. Human beings are not always rational. They are supposed to be rational. But supposition does not mean are. Since we are irrational, we might selectively select tasks which we want to automate. We can simply resist change. We are very resistant. Let's not forget it. Human beings, does everything changes? Yes. but there is a resistance to change. And we even start to value human work more than the counterpart done by the automated one. So there are two pieces of work, and we can always say, I was flabbergasted when I saw a painting done by artificial intelligence. It was a hodgepodge of colors. Some people went gaga over that. But I'm sure after they have thought about it, they would have understood that it was meaningless. So, in this scenario, humans could overcome the technological limitations, as Anvi says in scenario 1. Theoretically, we may be able to automate most tasks. Cultural change would not be as fast as the technological change. Then, the third phase, which are the possibility or scenario is, it can be planned automation. We might achieve what was previously assumed to be impossible. The creation of a general purpose artificial intelligence. Quantum computing can arrive on mass market. Today is limited, but can be available on mass market. Data collection through sensor-enhanced techniques and legal framework permitting monitoring online as well as offline behavior might give us granular real-life data. By combining artificial intelligence, biology, healthcare, and other disciplines, we might be able to understand complex human systems, including health, behavior, and environment. And this could enable us not just to use automate human labor as much as possible, but to develop an alternative political, social, and economic system, which is compatible in this future, as Envy said. Humanity would be willing to accept the intrinsic task. To what extent? Let's see. But to fill the void of unemployment, humans would focus on interhuman connections and create an experience-based economy where cooking, nursing, handicraft might come of more value. So gaps between those resisting the change and the more technologies could be met with training programs, which is quite a possibility. And the fourth is scenario 4, which is a rapid, full automation. Capitalism has currently seen to be driver of innovation. But is it always so? This might change some challenges. The hypothesis that economic growth and gains in productivity lead to more consumption and ultimately higher wages has proved to be incorrect. If that is fully not justified, quite possible that full automation being used, the corporate monopolies will create a new system. And then there'll be logical implication for more productivity. And the result would be artificial intelligence will become driver of growth and consumption would not be inhibited. Scenario 4 differs from the earlier 3 ones depending on the speed of automation and the unplanned approach. So what is next? None of these scenarios which I have explained are carved in stone. Nothing is inviolable. As I said, human beings are rational and erratic at the same time. They are very well in control of things and they do things impetuously without any thought. On one hand, there is no absolute certainty of extreme distortion, leading to a potential automation of 50% or more. It might remain a hypothesis. On the other hand, assume that humankind will simply deal with the incoming change as we have done in the past. So, the best thing is to start a democratic, pan-national public discourse. That's what's needed now. To hear everyone's needs, fears, ideas, hopes. And the government must subsidize more independent, multidisciplinary research, and that should evaluate ethical, social, legal, environmental, and technological implications of full automation. We have to accept that our plans can be flawed. We have to accept the complexity of the future is beyond predictability. But given the scope, these four scenarios are possible. There might be one of them, or there might be a combination of one or two of them. But primarily these scenarios encompass what our future is going to be in view of automation, robotics, and artificial intelligence. We have to be ready to take the action as the time comes, as per the requirement, considering, as I said earlier, ethical, social, legal, environmental, and technological implications. Thank you.